Open your phone for just a second, and chances are, a little green owl is already waiting for you. Not to congratulate you, not to teach you Spanish, but to remind you that your streak is about to disappear. Millions of people laugh at Duolingo's hilarious notifications. Some even fear them. The internet is filled with jokes about Duo coming after you if you skip a lesson. But here's the crazy part. None of this happened by accident. Behind that friendly cartoon owl is one of the smartest psychology-driven business strategies ever built. Duolingo didn't become the world's biggest language learning app simply because it teaches languages well. It became a billion-dollar company because it mastered something far more valuable: human behavior. So how did a free language app convince hundreds of millions of people to keep coming back every single day? The answer begins with one simple question. What if learning could feel more like playing a game? Back in 2011, Luis von Ahn, the Guatemalan computer scientist behind CAPTCHA and reCAPTCHA, believed education had a major problem. Learning online was often expensive, boring, and difficult to stick with. Millions of people downloaded educational apps. Very few continued using them. Most quit within days. Luis believed the problem wasn't motivation. It was design. People weren't failing because they couldn't learn. They were failing because traditional learning gave them very few reasons to return tomorrow. At the same time, games were doing the exact opposite. People spent hours playing simple mobile games every day. They returned consistently. They celebrated progress. They chased rewards. Luis asked a fascinating question. Instead of making education feel like school, what if it felt like a game? That single idea became the foundation of Duolingo. Instead of long grammar lessons, users completed tiny challenges. Instead of grades, they earned points. Instead of homework, they built streaks. Learning suddenly became something people wanted to continue, not because they had to, but because they didn't want to lose their progress. The company's most powerful invention wasn't the owl. It wasn't even language lessons. It was the streak. Every day you complete a lesson, your streak grows. 1 day, 10 days, 50 days, 100 days. Eventually, that number becomes surprisingly important. Psychologists have long understood something called loss aversion. People generally dislike losing something they already have more than they enjoy gaining something new. Duolingo turned that principle into a product. Once someone builds a 300-day streak, missing one lesson suddenly feels painful. Not because one lesson matters, but because losing 300 days of consistency feels much bigger. The app quietly transforms learning into protecting progress. That's why millions of people open Duolingo every single day. Even when they're busy, even when they're tired, they're no longer just learning. They're defending something they've already built. That emotional shift is incredibly powerful. And it would become just one piece of a much larger psychological system designed to keep people coming back every day. The streak alone, however, isn't enough. Millions of apps have reward systems. Very few create the level of loyalty Duolingo enjoys. The real magic comes from combining dozens of tiny psychological triggers into one seamless experience. Take the lessons themselves. They're intentionally short. Most can be completed in just a few minutes. That removes one of the biggest obstacles to building habits. If an app asks for an hour of your attention every day, most people eventually quit. But 5 minutes? Almost anyone can convince themselves they have 5 minutes. And once they begin, they're likely to complete another lesson, then another. Behavioral scientists call this reducing friction. The easier an action feels, the more likely people are to repeat it. Duolingo applies this principle everywhere. Then there's the celebration. Complete a lesson, and the app immediately rewards you. Bright animations, confetti, sound effects, experience points, progress bars, small achievements. Individually, these rewards seem insignificant. Together, they create a constant feeling of accomplishment. Your brain begins associating learning with positive emotions. Instead of focusing on how much you still don't know, you're reminded of how much you've already achieved. That subtle shift keeps motivation alive. Perhaps the smartest decision Duolingo ever made was giving the owl a personality. Most educational apps communicate like textbooks. Professional, serious, predictable. Duolingo chose humor instead. The green owl became playful, sarcastic, sometimes even slightly threatening in a funny way. Its notifications quickly became internet memes. You forgot your lesson. Duo is disappointed. The owl knows where you live. Obviously, it's all a joke. But those jokes accomplished something extraordinary. People started sharing Duolingo's marketing for free. Memes spread across TikTok, Instagram. The mascot became more famous than many global brands, spending hundreds of millions on advertising. Instead of interrupting people with ads, Duolingo became part of internet culture. The company's social media strategy follows the same philosophy. Rather than acting like a corporation, the brand behaves like an entertainer. It reacts to trends, makes jokes, pokes fun at itself. Even when announcing updates, it often does so through humor instead of traditional marketing. This creates something every brand wants: attention without forcing it. People voluntarily follow Duolingo's accounts because they're entertaining, not because they're learning a language. That attention eventually brings more users back to the app. Of course, none of this would matter if the business couldn't make money. Here's another brilliant part of Duolingo's strategy. The app is free. Almost anyone can begin learning without paying. That dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. As millions of users join, a smaller percentage choose to upgrade to Duolingo Super for an ad-free experience and additional features. This is known as the freemium model. Most users never pay. But because the audience is so enormous, even a relatively small percentage of subscribers generates significant revenue. The free users aren't a failure. They're part of the strategy. They expand the community, strengthen the brand, and help attract future paying customers. Perhaps the biggest lesson from Duolingo isn't about language learning at all. It's about human psychology. People don't always need more motivation. They need better systems. Make progress visible. Reduce friction. Celebrate small wins. Create habits instead of obligations. And give people a reason to return tomorrow. That's exactly what Duolingo mastered. It didn't build the world's largest language learning platform simply by teaching vocabulary. It built one by understanding people. So why is the little green owl so addictive? Because it isn't really teaching languages first. It's teaching consistency. And once people become emotionally invested in showing up every day, learning becomes the natural result. That's how a free educational app transformed into one of the most successful digital businesses in the world. One lesson, one streak, and one tiny green owl at a time. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.